we again. Sit back, relax, we got the brain of band. No need to stress in the house, it's Van Bellen. The game is windsurfing, you can't yell them or tell them. We get the news, the views, the win biz. The brand's gear tips plus the world's best quiz. Carbs, PWA. We're professionals without the pay. There's nothing in pole dancing that we won't chat. From tandem boards to a windsurfing cat. It's your one-stop shop for a laugh and listen. Tune in each week or you'll be doing the missing.
Hey everybody.
Good morning.
Mate, I'm very excited by this podcast. We've never had so many people all at once, and we're talking about something that's super cool. So this is a special
What
podcast.
are we talking about?
Well, it's not about me on the toilet, huh?
It's not. I was trying to be a bit
I got it too. Look.
provocative with that thumbnail, but have you got the new Windsurfer magazine? Because obviously, if you're involved in windsurfing, like we have been, when did you start windsurfing, Paul? How many years ago? I mean,
it's probably around 9 or 10. So, I'm 48, 38 years ago.
So I'm like 40 years. So obviously, us
40,
two, we have grown up with windsurfing magazines. Like that was the only thing. Like I so look forward to getting that magazine every month. I was like the kid in the sweet shop. You whack it open, you go through it, and obviously over time, windsurf magazines have been dropping off. And we had a bit of news last year, which was there was a new windsurf mag coming out, which I think came as a bit of a shock to some people because people were like, hang on a minute, a magazine in this day and age? Surely there can't be a magazine. And they wasn't sure if it was an online magazine. Would it be a printed magazine? There was lots of questions. And I think there still is. And I think maybe some people haven't bought the magazine. We have got the magazine. There's some great articles in this magazine. So we are going to be talking about Windsurfer Magazine. And we have got not one, not two, not three, but 4 people on this podcast extra to us. So I don't know how this is going to go. I think this could be the biggest ever turnout for a podcast we have ever had. We're all in different places. I hope it will work. We will try our best not to talk over each other, but without further ado, we're going to bring in the team behind Windsurfer Magazine, the new Windsurfer Magazine. Who are we bringing in? We're going to intro in one by one.
Oh, yeah, let's do it. All right, we'll start with Tris Best. Here we are, Tris Best, the editor of the magazine. Welcome to the podcast, Tris.
Morning, guys. How you doing?
Yeah, we are good, man. We are good. If anyone doesn't know, Tris has got a pretty hefty background in editing magazines. You were the main guy behind Windsurf Magazine. That's the right one, isn't it?
Yeah. It's good you got that right. I was part of the test team whilst at the university and then became their features editor in 2001. There in for 5 years. It was a great sort of entry into the industry and thoroughly enjoyed every minute of it. The one part of it is the offices were in Oxford. So, and I was chasing the forecast either up to Ross Niger or down the south coast, wherever I could go. There you go. Yeah, it might be actually. It was a great team. There's a really good team behind Windsurfer Magazine whilst I was there. But I kind of wanted to have my own adventure, so I left in 2006.
Yeah, being in Oxford's difficult, isn't it? When you want some waves, you want some sea time, you want to get out of the middle. So we got Tris, obviously editor of the new Windsurfer Magazine. Who else have we got, Paul? That's Tris.
Okay, next onto the stage, welcome Daniel Macaulay, who's the marketing guru.
Hey there, guys. It's great to be here.
Here he is. Dan, like I'm going to say, like if you're from England, South Coast, you will know these guys. You know, they are in the main places, but Dan's been involved in windsurfing. When did you start windsurfing, Dan?
I started in '89 in Oyster Haven in Ireland.
And just give us a quick background of your stuff.
I think, yeah, I mean, windsurfing, like you guys, is everything to me. It's my friends, it's my travel, it's the clothes I wear, the van I drive, the content I consume on windsurfing TV, and it's really been one of the main sort of driving and shaping forces in my life. And in the early days, I worked heading up the marketing for Europe for O'Neill. And then very nearly 20 years ago, I set up a company called Brandwave, which does marketing for sports brands. And we do a lot of different sports, but windsurfing is the greatest. I'm very biased, and I think you guys. I grew up poring over those magazines, those print magazines. I used to cut them out and stick them in my homework journal, and just memorize it. And it's been a big part of my life, still is.
Cool, man. So that's Dan Macaulay. We're going to just quickly run through because we have got 4 guys to introduce, and we don't want to leave everyone too far backstage. Who else we got, Paul?
Next on the stage is Ollie Sargent, the co-founder of the magazine. Welcome, Ollie.
Hi there. Very nice to meet you.
Yeah.
So Ollie obviously is maybe a new name to a few people. Again, if you're from the British scene, from South Coast, maybe you would know these guys. But for people around the world, how did this come about? How's your involvement? How did it all happen?
Yeah, I'm not a name at all in windsurfing. I've always been super passionate about it. Read all the magazines 1,000 times when I was a teenager. But I'm not in the windsurfing or the sports industry. I just really, really love it. And I live near Dan, and we windsurf together all the time. And so, my involvement is just, I just love it.
Perfect. That's what we need. That's pretty much all of us, isn't it? I think when you have any sort of involvement in windsurfing, I think mostly now everyone is so passionate. That's what happens when a sport is quite a niche sport. The people involved, the people who are in the industry are all diehards, and that's so cool. I think in my dealings with people within the industry.
Awesome. Yeah. No, it's great to hear these stories. And finally, we have Lucas Meldrum. We've just got Lucas, the creative director of the magazine. I think a lot of us know Lucas. So welcome, Lucas.
Hi, how are you doing? All good?
Yeah, very good, man. Very good. For people who don't know you, obviously, Lucas been British wave champion, been a regular on the world tour, British scene. But obviously, this is a step into a different direction. How did this come about? How did this involvement happen, Lucas?
Yeah, so obviously a lot of people probably know me for my windsurfing, but I did go to uni in 2020, and I did 3 years studying graphic design. So that kind of linked in pretty good with the magazine work when it started, evolving, and we started talking about it. So in the end, it was kind of the perfect fit, combining what I studied and then my biggest passion. I think not everyone knows that I've got that kind of graphic design background, but that's definitely like a big passion. Obviously I love everything creative, all the video stuff, designy things, so that's where I fit in.
Wow, cool. Good job, boys. I mean, obviously first magazine is out for anyone who hasn't seen it, the Windsurfer Magazine. I have to say, it's a chunky beast, isn't it? I've
heard that before. But I was going to say the same. When I got this out of the mail, I was so impressed with what you guys have achieved here. Like the quality of the paper, the contents. In the older days, you open up a magazine and half the pages are ads. I guess there needs to be done to keep it. But this is, it's like like no one's going to want to throw this out. It's a super high quality sort of thing. So well done. Honestly, it's amazing. The amount of words in this is just scary. I can't imagine how long that took to compile. Yeah, it's awesome. Seriously.
I think we should. I was going to say, I think we should start off. Okay, firstly, a magazine. I mean, in 2026, that's a brave, bold move. Give us some, background about why a magazine, why a paper magazine, where magazines are dropping off. You guys have come together and put it, to the front. And it'd be really interesting just to hear the backstory behind the whole thing.
Cool. Shall I take that one? So yeah, I grew up obsessed by windsurfing and windsurfing magazines, and always been a subscriber. And when my kids started getting into windsurfing, I loved that they were cutting out the pictures and putting on their bedroom walls just like I did. Yeah. And then when I heard that Windsurfer Magazine, which was the last one left, was closing, I was properly gutted. And so I rang the guy who owned it and asked if I could keep it going, help out in any way. And Mark Kasparovich, you may know him, wasn't really keen for that. He wanted to retire and for it to retire with him. So that made me a bit sad. But then Tris approached me, soon afterwards, saying, if you really want to put some money into a windsurfing magazine, why don't we just do a new one that's like different and better? And I'm sort of acknowledging that this is not a business thing. It's not to make money, because I just love it so much. And I sort of feel that whilst someone put, I think it was a guy called an Instagram thing, that you can't put an Instagram picture on your bedroom wall, and that sort of really hit me. Yeah, for our sport to be a proper sport, it needs a magazine, and this is the only English language magazine in the world. It's just a passion thing. So that's I cool. Very keenly, supported Tris, taking it from there.
It's so awesome to hear the backstory, Ollie. There's a lot of people in the sport that obviously do it because they love it and not because it's a fantastic financial decision. And by telling us that story, it gives us even more appreciation for what's going on. So thanks, man. Yeah.
But that's pretty rad, boys. I'm interested though, the Kasparovich thing. Yeah. That is it. That for me is intriguing, because you've got a magazine. He's obviously run a successful magazine over the years. It's closing down, or he's retiring. It's mad why he wouldn't want to sell it. I mean, like I said, it's moved on, but that's already just strange to me to hear that. Okay, that's interesting. So how did you boys all get together? How was the team formed? So you have the idea, you want to buy it. Tris comes to you. How does that kind of
live stepping?
Sorry.
Yes. From my side, really, obviously having worked in for a publishing house and for Arkwind, it was also a crying shame that the title was sort of ceasing and ending. So I kind of initially came into Arkwind and to Windsurfer Magazine by the testing side. And so from my side, it was like that's kind of where I think the brands really have, they've over time, they've had the value of the magazines. It's like they've got products, they produce so much, content or products that kind of go into the industry, and they spend, hours, and they put their heart and soul into it, and they need an outlet and an unbiased review. So that side of it, I thought, quite honestly, that should have been out of the magazines a long time ago. It should be using the main aggregators that everybody else uses. So we've been working in the background and trying to kind of come up with a sort of a narrative and a platform for that. But the magazine itself, I thought, a long time ago, should have been a coffee table style. It should be something that, as exactly as you said, Paul, you keep hold of. You pick up again in 5 years' time, and the stories are as relevant. If you know what I mean? And also, you can give it to non-windsurfers and go, "This is the sport that I love."
Yeah. It's cool.
All the visuals that are generated in our magazine, or our sport, it's so easy for people to go, "Wow, that looks dynamic. It looks amazing. The sails are colourful. The water looks amazing. It just is so enticing." So it's natural that you kind of want to share that, and to have it effectively in a bookazine, or something that you can have on your coffee table and keep for a long time, I think was a sort of a natural progression. So that's kind of where it kind of came from. I knew that Ollie's discussions with Mark had kind of come to a close. So it was an opportunity to say, okay, let's just change the offering so that, you know, that we can all kind of get behind something. And, you know, you scratch the surface. There's so much passion, exactly as you said, Ben, there's so much passion behind the sport that we kind of need to have a platform and a sort of a sounding post that everybody can get behind. So that's the.
I'm also looking. Oh, sorry, Eddie. I'm just looking at the, you know, at the list of contributors here to the magazine. Obviously, it has all your names, but there's obviously John Carter. It says roaming editor, so obviously he's involved heavily, I imagine. And then there's an M. Yeah, sorry, you got.
Yeah, so I mean, JC, everyone knows JC. Like the guy's, you know, and hands down legend, and he's such a pleasure to work with. So, you know, he generates loads of content. He's around all the time. So having him involved, you know, I'd worked with him at Windsurfer Magazine for a long time. So it was a natural progression to kind of, you know, make sure that he's looked after as well a little bit, and then you know, likewise, there's a bit of cross pollination in what he does online. We're not looking to do that online, so then we can kind of promote each other.
Yeah. Okay. And then there's sub-editor Emma Maguire. There's somebody else.
Yeah. She's literally upstairs. So she's a colleague that worked with me in my business for a long time, and she's a trained journalist. So that helps.
Okay. And James Cops. I'm not super familiar with all you guys in England, but I'm assuming it's the same James Cox that I see. Is he on Ezzy Sales or something? Is it? Was that? Yeah. So Coxie, you call him Coxie, right? Is it?
That's it.
Yeah.
So he does all the website stuff. So he basically is very clever with Google and all the rest of it. So he does the stuff that I get lost on.
And finally, it says marketing direction, brand wave marketing. So what's the story with that?
That's over to Dan.
Yeah, that's
that's your business, is it?
That's my business. Yeah. So
okay.
I think, you know, as I said, like I'm such a fan of all the magazines since the 80s, but you have to look at the context in which they worked when they were successful. You know, this is pre-internet, pre-YouTube, and so much of what we consume now, you know, I'm on Windsurf TV every day, you know, I want to see it live, or I want to see it very, very soon afterwards. So how does that?
We all are, by the way.
We all are, yeah.
We all are, Ben.
If you're not subscribing, you should be. So you know, I don't want to wait months to see something in a magazine, you know, that I want to see right now live. And the same with technique. You know, there's some great coaches out there, but these formats are pre-YouTube. You know, if I want to watch how to do a carb jab or a forward loop, I want to see that. I want to see a whole video on that. And so a lot of the templates, which, you know, which is step and repeat, have been going since the 80s. And we looked at that and said, look, this is not working for a reason. So in terms of marketing, what was nice starting from the beginning was we had a blank page, and we said, you know, distribution. Okay, this is, you know, windsurfing is a niche sport. It's going out to all these nude agents, and a lot of these are getting destroyed afterwards. That's not environmentally friendly. Let's look at a way that we can go D2C or go through specialist windsurf shops and do it globally at scale. As the guy said, in terms of the magazine itself, let's do something that's evergreen, and let's put content in there that's going to be really, really global. And, you know, rather than it have, you know, very much, a lot of it felt like it was advertorial rather than, you know, something with a journalistic integrity. And everything was to sell more equipment. And for us, we wanted people to love windsurfing first and then buy the equipment. You know, so put something out there that somebody who's not a windsurfer is going to be super stoked to read. So as such, we sort of, you know, we really worked on like the value proposition, and our first value is we are windsurfers. And I think you alluded to this earlier, in that all of us love windsurfing and we do windsurfing. You know, we got salt on our hair, calluses on our hands. And if we're, you know, if it's windy outside and the trees are moving, we can't concentrate. And that sort of authenticity, that looking at that whole proposition, right down to what the magazine was and how it manifested and the distribution, that was super cool to kind of figure out what's left for print now in a digital world. And a lot of people came back and said, look, we want to see really, really high quality, beautiful photos that show windsurfing at its best. And I also think that there was just a lot of repetition. You kind of had the same people going to the same beach, telling the same story again and again and again. It's not good for sport, not good for the brands. And we want to give a platform to new people as well, you know, to tell new stories and let them build their careers. So very much the whole thing with the focus on sort of what's new and exciting human stories, and also then telling, like, you know, the story of the sport. 50% of the magazine is the history and heritage of the sport, which we all love old school windsurf gear, right? Yeah. All of massive collections. Tris being probably the biggest now, but it's very competitive, and you know, so we wanted to celebrate that heritage of the sport.
And how has it gone down as well as you expected? How have the brands received it? You know, what's been the feedback from the industry? Because I know there's probably people watching this who go, actually, I didn't, you know, although there's been some really good media around, like there will be people who still haven't heard of it or maybe haven't got their hands on it. So I know there's a few things to cover there, but firstly, how's it gone down? Has it gone down as well or better than you expected? What's been the feedback you've got?
Lucas, do you want to say this?
Well, I mean, I think Tris is kind of forwarding us emails like almost every week from people who have like messaged in and saying how good it is, and everyone, you know, I speak to on the beach is really stoked with it. Again, I think people are really stoked that kind of, you know, the old magazine died. Everyone's a bit sad about that. Everyone's happy to see something back, but also I think everyone's really stoked with, like, again, as you're saying, like the production, the look, the feel of it. It's something different. So yeah, maybe Tris knows a little bit about the brands that have been in touch, how they're.
Yeah, in general, it's been super well received, and first and foremost by the readers. So, you know, we're selling pretty much sold out of the first volume now, but it's gone to over 30 countries. So we've sent to South America, to Chile, to Uruguay, lots to Australia. So and thanks, Paul, for your promotion as well, which is brilliant. Yeah, no, it's been great. It's been really good. So it's been quite overwhelming, really. I think, you know, we had an idea of the numbers that Windsurf did when it closed, and I think we're sort of 3 or 4 times over that now. Wow. And I suppose it's just a case of, you know, that long format. So having a little bit more time to put a bit more into the articles. And the one thing with regards to the production, when we did Windsurfer Magazine, it was very much like, right, we've got this article, it needs to be 8 pages, 12 pages max. That's as much you've got, the space you have. And I haven't dictated that to Lucas at all. So it's like, here's the article, here are the images, go for your life. See what you can do. And the articles you can see are like 2 pages long, because the images are so good, why not use them, you know? And I suppose it's very much a case of, rather than, you know, Windsurf was sort of 65-35 with regards to editorial and ads, we've actually on purpose gone, okay, we'll charge more for the copy, but that in itself will kind of cover the cost of production and all the rest of it. And then the ads almost come in as a, you know, it's almost like the ideal would be outside industry, if you see what I mean. So it's kind of people pulling in and seeing the value of advertising within windsurfing, and that's ultimately where we want to get. It's like, you know, the brand themselves, everyone knows windsurfing, you know, the markets have been fairly volatile and a little bit tough of late, but they see value of, and it's tangible with regards to the main aggregators. What you guys do is brilliant. You know, people want to have information about the boards behind me, for example. That stuff can be fairly instant. We can be fairly reactive to, you know, when new products come out. The magazine itself is selling a lifestyle. And if we can kind of get brands outside the industry going, we want a part of all these very articulate ABC1 people that read and windsurf, that those are the brands that we want to advertise, and then we can charge a better premium for the ads and that exposure that they'll receive.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. I just want to cover one thing, because I think I spoke to you a bit ago, and some things have changed with distribution in Europe. Is that safe? Because I know there'll be a few people watching going, "Oh my God, I had to pay this amount of money to get it in." Has that changed now? Because I know I had that problem, so I'm guessing a few people did.
Yeah, and I suppose that in itself, the easy answer to that is that we're windsurfers and we're not publicists and we're not distributors, so we're kind of learning as we go a little bit. But I've got really good forwarders here, so we been working with them, and there's a way that we can pallet ones that go to Europe, for example, and this is basically the hang up of Brexit, and I don't think we need to realize that we're all that kind of feeling. And it's like then we can take it to the Netherlands, and that can be DDP, so duty and delivery paid. So literally, we pay one price, and it can be delivered to the doorsteps in Portugal or Germany or the Netherlands, without having to pay anything else. So again, we've learned through our experience with Volume 1, and we'll get it better for the yearbook and Volume 2.
Yeah, because I was just thinking it's probably a good platform to say, look, if you did have any problems receiving the first mag, in theory, they should be more ironed out in the second one. And we will cover it now, because obviously it could be a longish podcast. If people want to order the magazine, how is the best way to order it? Because there'll be already people going, "Oh my God, I want to order one." I'm seeing now in the comments, there's already people ordering magazines. So how is the best way to get a magazine?
So very simple. If they just go into windsurfer.co.co, and then there's a button at the top says buy now, and you can buy Volume 1, you can buy Volume 2 or the yearbook on its own, or you can buy them all together.
Hang on. So there's Volume 1, Volume 2, and then there's one that does them both together.
So no, the yearbook is something that we're doing at the moment. So the yearbook is something slightly different in that. What we try to do is basically kind of create something that is very sort of tangible, what's available on the market. So we've gone to all the brands, said, Simmer, what have you got in your lineup this year? Duotone, what have you got in your lineup this year? And so they're basically a little bit of a blurb, and then all the information about every product that's available on the windsurfing market. And that's quite a big thing to get through, but it provides a blueprint for us to do the testing, if you see what I mean. So it's like, and then on each product, the ones that we actually have tested, like the boards we've just come back from Ross Niger and the boards behind us, so they will have a QR code that will go to our YouTube channel, where you can actually view a review of that.
Okay, so the yearbook is basically a directory of everything, and then that will link in theory to the testing.
Exactly. So half of it's that, and then the second half, and again, we're just designing it at the moment. The second half is a kind of continuation of Volume 1. So it's got the lifestyle pieces and all the rest. So it's not just a sort of a directory. It also has some lifestyle pieces in there. That's sort of the other half.
Okay. So, and when you sign up, you can sign up literally to be a continual, I want everything, like just don't ask me again, just keep taking my money.
We've only done it to Volume 2 at the moment, so the first 3, and once the Volume 3 will be out in this autumn.
Okay. Cool.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so hold on. Just to clarify that, because I actually did. I'm pretty sure I bought the whole lot. So when Volume 3 comes out, obviously, I'll get notified through an email, like an email or something like that, right? Yeah.
Exactly that. So we'll do a newsletter saying Volume 3 is in process. It will be available. I would anticipate probably October time to coincide with excess event.
Just out of curiosity, what's this? What's the how many people are just going for, say, Volume 1 or Volume 2 versus buying the whole lot? Like, what's the proportion?
Almost 50% gone for the whole lot.
Ah, that's cool.
There's a question here from Philip. if I order volume 1, 2, and the yearbook, when will they ship? All at once or by the day of issue? Okay, as soon as they're available, they'll be shipped out. Okay, I think that's good to clarify a few things. Cool, boys. I tell you what, I have to say, I said this to a lot of people, and you know, the death of the magazine, it is a weird thing because unless you've got pictures all over your house or your boards in the background like Tris, you know, what defines you as a windsurfer when someone enters your house? You know, the missus doesn't want all this windsurfing memorabilia hanging over the kitchen. But if you've got one of these bad boys on the coffee table or something, I always said, like, that's it's such a kind of statement, like, I'm a windsurfer. This is, you know, like, it's such an easy grab. You're not.
It's like our handbag.
Yeah. So I need to ask. So the testing that you guys are doing, because I've been seeing some tests obviously coming out. They're not going to enter into the magazine. They're all going to be available on the YouTube channel. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah. So there'll be a QR code in the yearbook of the products that we have already tested. But obviously, if they go to the YouTube channel, we'll just continue to add content on there. So we've been in Gwythian on Tuesday, testing and cross-off conditions. We've just come back from Rosnigo, so cross-on conditions, which is a program that you know.
What have you been testing? Tell me. I'm excited. See, I'm such a weirdo. I just love it. What have you been testing?
So literally the boards behind. So sort of 85-litre wave boards. Lucas was down with us in Gwythian on Tuesday. We had Thorpe there as well, who helped out, which is brilliant. So it's been really enlightening. And we had.
There's no simmer there, though. I don't see a simmer. Oh,
you need to speak to Adrian about that. But you know, you guys are doing a great job anyway. So
that's good. So what have you got there? Is Taboo?
So Severn, Goya, Quattro, JP, and Taboo.
Okay. Any come on, give us some like little tidbits. What's your favorite? What's your favorite?
My favorite, I would say, is probably the Severn.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've talked to a lot of people about boards and stuff. And again, it's a personal preference. You know, there are good and bad boards, but a lot of the time it's more sinking it in with your style and what you want to get from a board. So, you know, I don't mind people saying, oh, what's your favorite board? It doesn't mean it's the best board. It means what's your favorite and what you like. So I think it is quite an interesting thing. People want to know what's the best board. You're like, well, there's a few things going on there.
I think that's the really important point, Ben. So actually putting onto a YouTube channel, it's timeless. Or the length of it can be 5 minutes, it could be 15 minutes. And the beauty is, you know, when we were doing the write-ups in the magazine, it was like, okay, you've got 550 words max to try and sum up this board. Whereas now, you know, the beauty is we have the angle and the sort of the platform to be able to do subjective opinions, not just objective. So, you know, if somebody turns around and goes, yeah, that board's not for me, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad board. It just doesn't suit their style of riding. And that's the beauty of it, to actually put it into the main aggregator that everybody uses. We can get, you know, more valuable feedback, hopefully, to the brands and most importantly to the viewers.
How do you choose which brands make the cut for the tests? Is there any? Yeah,
we purely give everybody the same options. So you know, we've been in contact with everybody, and everybody has the same you know, opportunity.
Yeah. Oh, okay. It's obviously a money thing. You've got to have money to do testing. I know when I did testing for Board Seeker back in the day, it's logistical nightmare. Like, it's a lot of time and effort. Like you say, you've got to go to Gwythian, then drive to Rosnigo. You've got to get all the gear, get it to the beach, take pictures, film it, or whatever.
So it's result sure.
Sorry, what was that, Tris?
Yeah, it's fairly resources. So you need to have, you know, the riders, the kit, the prefer, and the time to edit and put it all together. But it does take time, and obviously, you know, we have to be remunerated for that, you know. So I you know, I've got a team and I need to pay their salaries. So so you know, that is the kind of first and foremost. So these are the brands that initially signed up, and it becomes valuable for them and valuable for everybody to watch. So therefore, more people will sign up, more testing can be done.
And where do you draw the line with the makes? Because obviously you've got full custom boards, which I assume probably don't really fit in with a review because they're all different. But obviously then you have those brands that are kind of semi-custom-ish sort of things. You know what I mean? Like, what, is there a parameter with the boards, or what you say, yes, that's allowed in the review and that's not? Or
I suppose, again, that's the beauty of it being, you know, the opportunity to be kind of subjective. So if somebody turns around, you know, some custom brand says, actually, we've got a product we'd really like you to test. You know, there's the opportunity to do that as well. So, you know, the door's open to everybody and everyone. I mean, you know, custom manufacturers have as much passion in the sport as everybody else, so they deserve equal opportunity, if you see what I mean. And if it's of interest and stuff, then happy days, you know.
yeah, okay. Because I just remember as a kid when I used to read the Windsurf magazine or boards, and you know, it pretty much was purely production from my memory. I could be wrong, but yeah, that's good. It's so open-minded.
Just going back to the magazine. So obviously, I mean, it's really interesting seeing the comments coming in, because I could see me being like this type of guy. I was going to order it, and then, you know, something happens and you don't, and then you need that final push to kind of order it. Is there any, like, how you're obviously thinking at 3 magazines? Are you then evaluating what's happened so far with the magazine and then adapting or changing, or you're kind of like, right, this is definitely where we're going anyway? Or is it, are you already thinking of different approaches? Because I mean, it looks great to me. I'm loving it. I'm just wondering if anything's changed since you launched it.
Dan, do you want to take that one?
I just don't know how much we tell these guys.
Look, it does evolve, doesn't it? All these things evolve. They're always like, I can already see we've already gone a little bit into testing, but the testing does make sense to keep online. It's just obvious. It's hard to keep timelines. It's hard to do stuff because wind isn't always guaranteed. Kit isn't always guaranteed to turn up. So you need to be pretty flexible. A magazine's usually got like a hard date. Can anyone like submit a story? Could some freelance person think, you know what, I could write a story for this? Can they get it in there?
100%. Yeah, I was at the BWA Gwithian event with Lucas a few days ago.
That looked epic. Sorry, that. So good. Can I just say, Alfie has just finished the video from Gwithian. He just sent me a message saying it's online, the draft is online. So that will be coming out in the next 2 days. Gwithian went off. That looked epic. Sorry. Carry on.
British wave sailing events, you know, obviously we sponsored the launch event at the Witch Rings as well. And we had that big launch party, and the conditions, you know, it's, and these events are sold out way in advance. Yeah. Every category, waiting lists.
Awesome.
And it's just, you know, the vibe as well. And I've not competed for a long time, and I've kind of just got pulled back into it a little bit by Ollie. And oh man, it's so alive at the moment, and it's such a buzz. And to your point, you know, a lot of people coming up to us and saying, can we contribute this? Can we contribute that? You know, Tris is the boss man when it comes to this, and he does rule with an iron fist. So
best way. That's the best way.
Yeah, I say don't ask me, I just work it. But, you know, I think, you know, a lot of what Tris was talking about in the past is you're owned by publishing groups. You know, it's limitations. This is how we do things. And we have to keep reminding ourselves, you know, this is ours. We do whatever the hell we want. And if we want to change it, we will. And let in who we want. And
but can I just mention one continuity thing that I really love, which is Peter Hart. Because even though we're not anymore, but that dude can write.
Is he? Where is he? There's someone mentioned him already.
Yeah, he was one of the first comments was asking about him. There we go. Yeah.
Peter's an institution. He has to be there. It's the law.
Imagine.
And I think, moving forward, we have a lot of plans, but they start with two things. I think the first one is we want windsurfing. We want people to love windsurfing, not just windsurfers. We want to grow windsurfing. We've been approached by centralized buyers who buy for coffee tables for all the hotels, for all the airports.
Oh wow!
They buy in bulk, and you can't do that with the more sort of the previous formats. But this is something that's beautiful, and we want people to look at it and love windsurfing. I love windsurfing. A lot of my friends run the brands. I'm passionate about it. It doesn't work the other way around. You can't love the gear and then love windsurfing. You have to love windsurfing. So that's going to stay, right at the forefront.
That's cool, man. I never knew people did that.
Yeah.
That's good. I thought they just picked up random magazines and shoved them in places.
Yeah, we want people who don't windsurf to pick this up and grow windsurfing. And back in the day, it was all about the lifestyle. And I think to some extent we've lost that and become ultra technical. And there's a place for that, but we've got to remember where that is. And then I think the second thing in terms of moving forward is just remembering what is left for print, what matters for print, and what belongs in digital. And let's look at all these things with fresh eyes. And, as we said, stuff that's happening right now, we want to see it live. The stuff in the magazine has to be timeless. And I think we want like quality journalism, like journalistic integrity in there. Real stories, human stories, stuff that you'd be interested to read. So this is not necessarily about, the person who wins all the contests or something about that. And I think, Tris has been really good at finding those kind of stories. And then, Lucas as well. We want it to be something that's beautiful, something that's artistic. And I think Lucas threw us all, we were looking outside of windsurfing at some very, very obscure magazines and just the artistry of it. And Lucas said, there's not going to be a template. Like every single thing that I do is going to have a different font, a different look, sympathetic to whatever we're talking about. And that really the CD, but how it manifested is something that I think it looks artistic and it's really, Lucas, you probably can talk about it better than me.
No, I like that approach, Lucas. I think it makes a lot of sense in my normal life is how I like things. Like weirdly, and this is going to sound like I'm going to link it back to windsurfing, but some people get all the same color sails, all the same stuff. When I order my stuff, I'm weird because I order everything different because I like when I go sailing not to feel if I'm on a different size sail, I'm in a different mood. So it's like I kind of like to have these different colors, and people are freaking out. They're like, "Oh my god, you didn't get all."
I didn't know that about you, Benny. You got this sort of artistic side to you, mate.
Oh,
But I'm just sitting here listening to all you guys, and now it becomes clearer to me how such a high quality magazine gets produced because you're all so good at what you do. Like listening to Daniel McCauley, you're very you obviously have a lot of experience or a lot of intelligence because the way you talk about it, it's very, it's very professional. It's pretty impressive. And obviously you all are, but I was just listening to you, Danny. Obviously, Lucas, you all are. But you know what I mean? Like sometimes you meet the people behind it and you think, oh, okay, it's a bit of a shit show. But I look at it and listen to all you guys.
Like well,
you know what I mean? But it's amazing.
Lucas, because that Lucas, that was entirely down to you. I mean, we just kind of saw it.
That's my kind of reference library of.
Oh, so what sort of magazines you got there, Lucas?
Don't show them all. He'd be like, oh.
We got all sorts, like
they're all
a lot of
Playboy,
but a lot of kind of more lifestyle-based ones, which is kind of the route we wanted to take.
Yeah,
At
cool.
the start, it was a lot of just a lot of kind of ideation and trying to like with everything. I think you need a bit of order. Like I know every article can't be like completely wild, so there is kind of a grid system in place. If we're getting into the nitty-gritty graphic design stuff, there's like a couple of body text that I use, but as Dan said, like I wanted every article to be different, and especially I think the idea with the title pages, which I've seen on a couple of magazines, of having each article have its own kind of personality, depending on what the article's about, trying to reflect that in some sort of cool typography and title page. I think that was really cool to keep it fresh. And I think I hope that people also, when they get the new magazines, are kind of a bit excited on that side of things, is like who's in it and like, what's it going to look like from article to article. It took a little bit of time to kind of come up with that kind of structure, but then I also wanted to keep it pretty free at the same time, so it's balancing those things out, I guess.
And even the adverts aren't adverts, are they? They're like just cool pictures. It's like,
that's something we really, really wanted to push. I mean, we've seen like a really good example is like Surfer's Journal, or what's the English one? Wavelength. That's probably the least of the...
I was about to say that one is probably the least one I was talking about.
I know. Well, that's still a cool picture.
All the ones, like when I look at the beginning, I was just like, these are all pictures.
No, but that was fine. There's nothing wrong with that ad. It was cool.
No, but these ones are literally just perfectly.
It's hard to find ads in this magazine.
Yeah, it's intentional. That's us, collaborating with the brands. Obviously, first issue, not all ads are like that, but that's us saying, let's make something that makes people love windsurfing. Let's sell brand rather than product.
Yeah.
And it's not that we're not selling product. We have the yearbook coming out, and it's going to have all that directory. We're doing the testing, but what we're trying to do is draw a really hard line between pretending that a photo shoot is a journalistic piece, where it's really just advertorial. And if you encourage the brands to do that, you end up with a magazine that's just entirely insulting the intelligence of the reader. And we're like, I'm paying for this. And all you're doing is just giving me a magazine that's full of ads, essentially, and we don't want to do that. So we just want to be really clear where that line is, and keep the sport attractive to everybody.
The thing is, and I have this kind of argument with a lot of brands with Windsurfing TV, because there's a lot of brands from Germany out there, and they're very much about numbers. How many posts am I going to get? How many views? I'm like, look, that's not Windsurfing TV. You support us, we'll just put energy into the scene, and you will, if you're doing a good job with your brand, it will pay off. And it's the same for me with your magazine. If you have a good magazine and people are reading it and they're into windsurfing, and you have a brand which you're doing a good job with, you will sell windsurfing equipment. It's not necessarily like this whole click through thing. It's not like that. With TV advertising, freaking still is some of the best advertising you will get, but you can't exactly say how many clicks you're going to get. I remember seeing someone saying someone wore some trainers in a film, and they didn't have any reference to if it worked or not, apart from the next day they sold out of trainers all over America. And you think it's really difficult, so many brands are so into clicks and this views and that views. It doesn't always work like that. You have to provide a scene, an environment for people to thrive, and the things add to that. A Windsurfer mag for me is that. We need a print mag. We need an English print mag that can go all over the world. It needs to happen, and you guys have definitely done it.
And Wade, I saw this comment here. He said, I've just shown the whole magazine. Believe me, you have not seen the whole thing, because there's 180 pages. I've actually had this for a few months. It's going to take me years to get through it. It's that big.
I think to your point, Ben, and you and I have worked together professionally in the past, with brands and things. And, I'm always impressed when you say to me, you're like, Dan, this is not how I work. You're very clear about who you are and your values. And you're like, you're just going to have to trust me. And, that's worked out really well. And you've done things organically. And I think, it's Tris that has those conversations with the brands. And
poor Chris. Poor Tris. I know those conversations. they're like, it's painful, man. There's some of them got no vision. You've got to trust.
That's just it. Tris is the one that holds the line on that. So I'd put that across to you, Tris.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose from our side, going to the content is a new. So to talk to people about the new product, have no tangible understanding of what it is, was, it's quite a hard narrative to start. But once you actually have it, having it in people's hands, so they can see it, they understand that actually it's a very different proposal to what was gone on in the past. And I suppose that in itself, it's not going to happen overnight. There are times and foot placements to go through. So that people understand what you're about. And then, I think we've started pretty well. I'm very pleased and, grateful to the brands taking a punt on us to start with. The brands are involved. But I think we've got a really good formula. We've got a great team behind it. And I kind of feel empowered that, I've got young guys like Lucas, like Scotty, who's helping with the testing, them involved. Because, the most important thing is, it shouldn't be people of our generation, if you know what I mean. It should be the younger guys coming through and taking the bull by the horns. So, getting them involved and actually showing that there's real prospects within the sport, I think that's kind of a key narrative as well.
Well, look at Cornwall. I mean, that looked like an absolute success. I have been saying it for years, but this is like the perfect competition for me, where you run the juniors first, then you do the amateurs, and then you do the pros. And from, like I said, I've suggested this before, but it was always the pros who would always start on the Friday. But this competition, the winners from the juniors moved into the amateurs. And then the winners from the amateurs, the two, moved into the pros. And this is exactly what you want. Like these young guys now, and Cornwall's the perfect example, because the winners of the juniors won the amateurs and then went into the pros. And one of them's, right up there as well in the top of the pros as well. So they get to sell so many heats. That's what's motivating. The biggest demotivator in competition is sailing one heat. And especially if you're a young kid and it's windy and everyone's having loads of fun and you do one heat and you're out, or you do a couple of heats or something. So I think this is such a good format, and it does show if we can provide them with something, that is how you're getting young kids to stay in it. They got to be active. They got to be doing stuff. And I think I can just feel, I wasn't there, but I can feel the vibe that Cornwall was all about the young kids coming up, which is really cool.
Yeah. And I think that's it. Go on.
Sorry, Tris. Keep going.
I would say the story behind that is exactly that, Ben. Rather than like the competition results, because that's already, everybody knows that. It's actually the stories behind the people. Where did they learn? What inspires them? Who do they watch? All that sort of side, and giving them the platform to kind of go, I'm part of a big culture. Something that has real longevity and prospects. So, we're going to be speaking to Willie McLean and the guys behind the event and getting those stories, which I think is really important.
You've definitely got to do the stories on those young kids, because if this magazine is going to sit on the table of us old fellas, there's a lot of young kids that will pick it up and have a look through. And if they have got role models in these magazines that they can look at, because I know when I was growing up, I always remember this guy called Matt Jenkins, who was the son of some new wave custom board in South Wales. And I can still remember a little article that was like 14-year-old Matt Jenkins and his new custom board. I was like, oh my God, look at this guy. He's got his dad's a custom board, and this is still in my head, like 40 years, whatever later. It's kind of crazy how those things kind of stick with you.
Ollie, I think it will be. Ollie's got 3 kids who all rip at windsurfing, and I remember when we were initially talking about that, I know that was a big motivator for you, Ollie, that we have something for them, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. They absolutely love the sport, and so to have for it to be real and have these great competitions going on, and the magazine is just epic for them. So I'm loving it for the kids. And they've got such a great generation as well with the McLeans, and this kid Sam Wadey won everything. They all hang out together and sail at the competition. So love it.
No, that's cool. And like we've talked about it before in Maui. Morgan Nareau, Bernd Rodiger, Kai Lenny, all these guys grew up together. And it's not surprising when you grow up as usually it comes in cycles. When I came through the British scene, I was a bit late, but I kind of joined in with John Sky, Chris Audsley, Andy King. These boys are all together, and you just push each other. And you need these little groups, and these little groups form bigger groups. I've seen it with Team 15 over the years. You get one little group and it just grows. Pozo. Pozo started off as a few little kids, and then they're inspiring other kids because kids, inspire other kids. We don't inspire kids. It's like, you can't do anything. But another kid is like, oh my God, look at that kid. So I think this is super important.
Yeah, I just was going to say about like getting the younger generation involved, and I think have to thank Tris for this because I do bang on about it quite a bit now, but obviously it's quite hard within windsurfing now as a young rider. And I think if people like Tris can give opportunities to young people, because now we can't really travel around the world, sponsored by windsurf brands. If we can get jobs within the industry, I think that's really, really like motivating and showing young people that there's other things that you can do. And I think it is a bit of a risk, but I think it's important because otherwise, I think Tris could have probably easily gone for someone a bit older and more experienced. I think that you have a danger of keeping it within the older generation, and then it all dies off with that. So I think it's really important, and we want to keep the heritage in the mag. I think that's really cool. Like Tris got some articles in there about people that I had no idea about, and it's really cool to see the history. But I think the balance of getting the younger people in and motivating them is really cool. I think we're going to do that. So
what was really nice when we were testing down at Gwithian is Scotty and Lucas effectively take the lead, and so when you've got those guys that are sort of the prospects of the UK kind of taking a lead and the testing and that side of it, again, it's it's pure manner. It's great to kind of see it, and the sport is healthy, like that side of it is just brilliant. Great to see.
Whose idea was to put this picture on the rear cover? Who was that?
That was my idea of
Lucas. I was about to say whoever did that was genius, because I tell you why, because I look, it's an easy place to put an ad. It's an easy place to put some crazy picture, but I absolutely love this picture. Like, it's kind of weird. The funny thing, for anyone who hasn't got the magazine, sorry, I'm a bit of a spoiler alert here because maybe you want to keep it secret so when people open it up, but there's this picture on the back, and it's kind of like a bit overexposed. And basically, there's someone just walking back on virtually 5 knots, going back to the beach. And when you look at that picture, if you're a windsurfer, we have all been there. We've all been there where the wind's died or it's the end of the session and you're just winding down and you're walking back. And I can look at that picture and completely relate to that picture. So well done, Lucas. That's a good move. That one. I love that picture. It's really good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, again, we're all keeping it within like the windsurfing world, and some of you might know Max Metasek. He used to do the freestyle back in the day, but he's a really good photographer. And just looking through his Instagram, he does some good things with like the analog film cameras, which I think gives it that kind of look, that kind of like overexposed look. But there's a few good pictures, but I think in the end, me and Tris were discussing about the covers, and I think that's just, again, as you said, it like a nice one because it's everyone knows that feeling coming off the water after a long day in the sun. So it's
awesome.
And to create something a bit different because the front cover is obviously next level, and a bit of a contrast there. I think it was really cool.
Well, I guess because that's always a bit of a danger. Oh, no, go on.
So I was just going to say, it wasn't quite like that in Ross Niger when we came off the water yesterday evening.
Yeah.
I saw some video, actually. It looked pretty sick. It looked really good.
Oh, it was insane. It was that classic horizontal rain, like, yeah.
I'm just going to put it out there because I know a lot of you big business people, if any of you have got to go, feel free, because I know me and Paul, we can just carry on. So, you know what I mean? Don't feel like you have to. Again, I'm not telling you to leave, but I know how it is. Like,
I do actually have to leave it. Not for I'm in any way a big business person, but I do have a call now. So I have no idea how to turn off the.
We can make you disappear. But I just want to say, Ollie, massive thanks to you, because by the sounds of it, without you, this wouldn't have happened. So
massive
passion projects. We love passion projects. I think we're all about passion. So big up, man.
Good on you, Ollie.
Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, really nice to meet you both. Cool. Bye.
See you, mate. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, look, massive. Actually, you touched on something before about this distributor that was talking about putting this magazine onto tables in, what was it, airports, cafes, or whatever it was. What's the progress with that? I'm curious, because that's quite massive, isn't it?
It's early days. As Tris says, we're not publishers. I think it's testimony to Lucas and Tris, the quality of the magazine. For the first go, I mean, I think there's 5 different paper types in there. It's debossed. You got the fold in, and that's only going to improve. We were talking last night. The next magazine's probably going to be bigger again, and we're just like, why not? Why not?
Why not? I agree.
People want it, and it comes back to this incredible freedom we have to be whatever we want to be. To have that autonomy is really, really rare. There's a lot of stuff that we're looking at. I think right now what's blown us away is, as Tris said, it's being in over 30 countries, and the demand from places that are really far away. We even had this morning, the shops in Maui, wanting to retail this. So yes, we're D2C by the website, but there are quite a few windsurf shops now retailing it. So we've got to figure out logistically how to do that on a really, really global level, because as anyone who's had a global brand, it is not the same in all territories. There's a lot of considerations to getting it out there. So there's no lack of demand. We've got to just figure out how to supply it. And then we've also been approached, because the content is global, with different countries saying, look, can we do this in German, or can we do this in Japanese? Pretty much the same magazine. So that's consideration. We've spoken, to other magazines who get approached to then do a book twice a year, all kinds of stuff, So I think
pretty cool, man.
It's pretty cool, dude. There's a lot of options out there, and what we don't want to do is get ahead of ourselves and lose the quality of what we're doing. But yeah, we are really thinking big on this, and we've just been overwhelmed by the sheer numbers, I guess. It has been awesome. It's given us confidence, right?
Yeah, that's what you want to move forward. Because the reason why I think this is such a good opportunity, for a number of reasons. First, it's such a flooded marketplace with everyone trying to get your attention and so forth. And with windsurfing, it gets completely lost in that marketplace, doesn't it? It's hard to project windsurfing out in the current world. But if this starts appearing in some obscure place, or some cafe or a bookshop or something like that, what an amazing way to introduce people to a sport that they probably haven't thought about for 20, 30 years, or even ever. You know what I mean? So I think there's a huge opportunity for windsurfing if you can distribute this into areas that are outside of, obviously, the traditional windsurf zones. And also the beautiful thing about this is too, when you go into shop, like where it's a book shop or some design shop or something like that, and you'll pick up something that is just completely, it's designed well, it's produced well, but it's in a subject area that's kind of nichey, and you go, oh, this is a book about wood chopping or something, you know, and you go, oh, okay, and then you sort of open it up, and all of a sudden you have some appreciation for that world. And this is like windsurfing. That's
back to Lucas, you know, the taking inspiration from you can't read the label from inside the jar, right? And windsurfing for so long has been looking at its competitors and itself, which is unhealthy. And I think it comes back to this starting from scratch, and Lucas taking, you know, very, very artistic things and saying, what if windsurfing didn't look anything like it did in the past? And it takes a lot of vision to do that. It takes an appetite for risk. And then also, you know, we looked at a lot of the premium bike magazines, and a lot of people who read these don't bike anymore, or people who read these beautiful surf books, you know, maybe they used to surf a lot, and you have to look at like old school windsurfers, which I love, right? You know, what is it, 70?
The Facebook group. Yeah.
You know, this is Robert Masters' group, who directed all those great movies, you know, back in the day. And because things were just so blatantly commercial, the opportunity was lost that you have in these other sports like skate, like surf, to look at the big picture of the sport and that heritage. You know, the kids just don't know about it. And so we wanted to celebrate that. And again, you know, I can't stop giving credit to Lucas for bringing that to life, because he's done a really beautiful job.
Yeah, I think my eyes were opened a little bit. Like, you know, at uni, you know, there's, you know, I was with, I don't know, 60 to 100 people who all had like different kind of artistic looks. So that really opened my eyes a bit. And also I do like looking at, you know, other sports, action sports. And I was like, at uni, I was just looking at all these sports and I was thinking, wow, there's a lot of like artisticness to these sports and their content and media and stuff. And looking at the windsurfing, as we've said, like a lot of it is quite techy. And I was like, why can't we bring something like this into it a little bit more? Because I think it was there. I think maybe we lost it a little bit. And funny enough, one of my projects at uni was like a Windsurfer magazine, and I was going to do a magazine, like a physical magazine, and it kind of evolved, and it was more of an online, like stab magazine type thing, which I kind of mocked up, and was a little fun project. But that was one of the things I was always thinking about, having a Windsurfer magazine that was a bit different. And then it was weird, like almost a year after finishing, how it's come together and it's actually happened. Because I wouldn't be able to do it just on my own. I don't have all the knowledge and everything else that the whole team provides. So it's pretty cool how it's all come together, I think.
Totally. Just another question, just for people who don't know, how do I subscribe? Windsurfer.co.uk, is that right?
.co.co.
Oh, .co. Okay, there we go. Sorry, windsurfer.co, and then you can go buy now, and you can order. You can order all three, which has got they will come when they arrive. Obviously, 1, 2, the 2's in the making at the moment, is it? Or volume 1 is in the making at the moment?
And then volume 2 will be out in May.
Okay, perfect. So there you go. You can do that easy. Get yourself involved. Like I said, you've got to support these things. For me, if you're a windsurfer, that is what you do want on the coffee table. I'm reading a few things here, and it's pretty much that. My copy has appeared on my coffee table, beside me on the park bench, at the beach, in my satchel, going to meetings. I've become attached to it. There you go. You know, because it does become an identity. It's like I said, it gives you this kind of, I'm a windsurfer. Look, you don't have your phone out, because you've got your phone out. It looks a bit, I don't know. It's not the same thing as a magazine.
I love Paul's analogy that it's your handbag. So I think I might use that in the future. Windsurfers.
Yeah,
no, it's good.
But the other, Benny?
No, I was just going to say it reminds me of like the Trictionary type thing. You know, if you've ever bought, or there's 2 books that have got windsurfing together with me, and which one of them was, you know, the equivalent of the Storm Rider Guide, which was the European, I can't remember what it was called, European Windsurfing Guide or the World Windsurfing Guide, and that was a big book, and I just loved having that hanging around because it was something that you just pick up. Trictionary was another one, you know, you just hanging around, and people, and this is on that same level, but this is like more frequent. You know, it's a magazine which has that type of feel to it. You want it hanging around, you just pick it up and kind of going through it. So
that's why I also think it'll be interesting to see long term with this, because people want to keep it and they're proud to have it on their coffee table. The impact that it'll have long term will be so much bigger than the magazines of old, because they end up either just getting chucked on my bookshelf. I've got quite a few, but you know, either that or ends up in the recycling bin or something. But I can't imagine that's going to happen too much with this one. You know, so
you have to create a stand. You have to create your own coffee table.
Funny enough, we've actually got some 3D printed stands available as well. We've just got that for the wholesale. But I think it's also really well with to getting people on screens for time, you know, and actually it's healthy. Of the picture, Benny, that you get to sort of announce this podcast of sitting on the toilet. I think maybe we shouldn't promote that, because if you read the long form, you might get piles, but which we don't want to promote. But you know, it is kind of one of those where actually the whole idea is you can grab hold of it, you can put it down, you can pick it up in a couple of weeks' time. You know, there's still the stories. You know?
That was an actual picture, just so you know. That was an actual.
Yeah. I actually have pink panties. Yeah.
I always like doing those thumbnails because I can put Paul in any position and he's got no clue. And then I send him, okay, we're going to do a podcast. And he's like, what the hell's this?
Just constant humiliation, you know.
You love it.
That's it.
You absolutely love it.
It's really interesting having this conversation with you guys, because I have such strong and fond memories as a kid reading the magazines. You know, I know it's not so much associated with this particular one, but from the ages of 13 to probably 16, 17, which would have been from like 1990 to 95, I pretty much almost know, like I just went through all boards, like the board magazine, there was Windsurf. What was it? Was there another one? Oh, there was the American one, Windsurfing.
Windsurfing.
No, it was Windsurfer. Anyway, it was an American one, but
a big
I have
one.
such
a big, massive thing.
Well, there was the American Windsurfer. That was another one. Yeah, that might be the one you're talking about. But I just have. You said something before when you're looking for inspiration as a young kid, but for me, obviously we had videos which only came out every now and then. But the magazine was my way of my connection to windsurfing. I was living in a suburb of Sydney growing up. No one around me was a windsurfer. I was just in a regular neighborhood. And I felt that this was my little world. This was my little bubble that I'm in. And that was my connection to the sport. It's like the mag, and with modern, maybe it's an age thing because I'm a Generation X like Benny, but even though I do use my phone and social media as much as the next person, but it's quite fleeting. And this is so much more a deeper connection. This format. In long term, I think so. Yeah.
What I find interesting is when you look, if you've ever looked back at some old magazines, is how many you totally remember. Like, it's scary. I can look at a magazine from like the early 90s and I'm like, I genuinely remember it. I'm like, oh my God, how many times must I have looked at this thing for me to, it brings back so many. It's kind of crazy. I know that sounds probably obvious, but I always find it really surprising. I see a front cover and I'm like, yeah, remember that. Yeah. Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy.
I was gonna say on that point, like, I'm not the youngest anymore, but because I remember like getting all the magazines as well. I was still kind of in that era, like just before Instagram when I was a kid and stuff. And I actually feel like quite lucky to have gone through the era that there was magazines and there was like still kind of like films and like on the DVDs, like the Addicted to Ride ones and stuff like that. And that that's in my my mind forever. Like as you said, Ben, if you go back to like some of the old magazines that I got, and pull them out, I remember everything. The old films, I like remember all the soundtracks, and like I almost feel a bit sorry for the kids now. It's like I don't think you're going to remember an Instagram post now.
That's the thing.
And I'm so happy that we got something that hopefully kids can, maybe they're not going to read all the articles, but they're going to remember some of those pictures.
But I think things will have to change a little bit, because I think there is, if you ask someone what they want, most people don't really know. They think, like, it's like, let's say you ask a kid if he wants some dessert, he's going to say yes, and you're going to keep eating it and keep eating it. But when you get it cold back, and then it has on special occasions, it has way more weight to it. It has way more feel. It's the same as when we have to wait for magazines. There's this special thing about waiting, and you're making you wait. Yes, if I could have it today, I'd have it today. But when I have to wait a month or 2 months, when I get it, it's way better. It's the same with videos, as we've seen. Like now, everything's so quick. Everyone wants it now. But it's I don't think that's the best way to do it. Like, even though everyone will say they want it right now, to have to wait for something and have like this kind of anticipation and the build up is pretty cool. I think this is, I didn't know I knew one article in here, but I didn't know what I was going to see. So it is like this total surprise. Like and that's cool. Having that surprise again, when someone, it's like when someone drops a video though, it's not Whokeeper, it's not a normal spot. Like, for example, when Pare went to Iceland, or someone goes somewhere random and you've got no expectation for it, and it suddenly pops up, you're like, oh, this is exciting. This is what I want. And I think we're going to go back to that a little bit. I think it's really interesting. Here he is. He's back. What did you find?
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking of something, because there may be people who are too young to remember when there was even magazines. Here we are talking about magazines and thinking, what are you guys talking about? I don't remember any magazines. So I thought I would show, this is only probably a third of what I've got. I've got a few boxes at another place, my mum's place, that has them all. But it's interesting, like when you actually look back at the history of windsurfing. I'm just trying to go back to maybe an earlier one. Now here's one here, and there's so many more. Here's one, Windsurfer Magazine. This is
Surfing. I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, it's German. This one's, it looks pretty old, but anyway, there's one there. Then here's the American Windsurfer. I think that's the one you were.
Yeah, that big one. That's the huge thing.
Yeah, it's a bit larger format. Then we have this is the UK's #1 windsurfing magazine at the time, I guess. Windsurf.
Trish, did you do that one?
Yeah.
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 And what you see now is like the appreciation for that camera angle and what it was, because nowadays that's like, GoPro, shove on the mast, nothing. Back in the day, and I know I've had a few front covers where the camera and the housing weighs an absolute ton, and to sail with it was just crazy. So like I did one with Simon Crowther where I had the massive camera on the nose of the board, and the backstory behind that whole shoot to get that front cover is just ridiculous. But anyway, it's just a new appreciation.
And it's funny also when I look through these magazines, because as we were talking before with Lucas's magic, but this brings back memories of seeing pages like this where it's just full of like little text selling every little bit of windsurfing, all those sort of pages. It was just there's another one. There was a lot of this sort of thing. Well, you just got
to go to Grand Prix, the original Grand Prix, which is now board.
Look at this. Look at this page. Can you even see
But
it's
you know
amazing.
what?
I mean,
but back then, that was how you got your information. I remember as a kid going through and going, "Oh, I want to have that one. I want to,"
No, well, it's 100%, Ben, because there's no internet, and that's the other thing. You think, well, and it'll say, oh, your 5.7 is 400 quid, and the 6 was like it was that sort of stuff. Then we had Boards Magazine. I used to read that one a lot too. That was pretty cool. Was there much of a competition between these magazines, or like what was it?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I always stayed out of the politics, but there is definitely competition. Funnily enough, I'm friends with a lot of guys with Boards Magazine now. They've kind of, they've found other jobs, but some within the industry still. So, we're good friends. So Fred phones me up. It's Fred Willis, who is the marketing man for Boards. He's a good mate of mine and Dan, so I speak to him fairly regularly. So, yeah, it's fairly close knit. But there was definitely rivalry at the helm of both. And there's quite a few stories.
Interesting. Greg Dunnett, he was doing some stuff with Boards Mag, and he's gone on to be like an author now. I've read a couple of his books.
Yeah, and his brothers are hands down like absolute, like an amazing adventurer. Like I was
going to say we were going to get him on the podcast.
Yeah, he's amazing. Yeah.
He's gone everywhere. He sailed around Europe. He sailed around Japan. Japan, fucking crazy. I used to race with him back in the day, so we should. There's a lot of people. We are firing the podcast back up. If you are tuned in right now, there's going to be a few more podcasts. Got a few guests lined up. Monty Spindler is keen to come on. Spoke to Geordie Vonk the other day. There's a few others. What's that?
Windsport.
That's the Canadian one, isn't it?
It says North America. America's Windsurfing Magazine. Actually, that just reminded, because I just quickly flicked through this, and I don't know if you guys are interested or if it works for your magazine, but this was something I fondly remember growing up too. When you have a magazine and they have the letters page, people obviously. Because back, because it was kind of cool to hear what people thought. I don't know, is that something that's
Dear Deirdre? There was a Dear Deirdre. I'm sure there was a Peter Hart.
It was cool, people would tell their little story. Then we've got Windsurfing Mag from America. I always thought this magazine was quite fresh. It always seemed to have this image, like it was very colorful, and it was always a bit had this sort of lively, fresh kind of feel about it, didn't it?
You're like the National Archive. I think you might have. We've seen some collections, but yours is very international.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's so many more. Huh? Like this is the board test. Yeah. This is the kinetic board. That's pretty cool. No, because there's unfortunately I can't read German or French and stuff. Then I'll bring it to the Australian. Hold on, before I get to the Australian, do you guys know about this one? Check this one out. New Zealand windsurfer. Look at this one.
Wow, look at that. A keep. Look at that jump.
It's got something on the front.
Trippy.
Man, you remember that guy?
Yeah, he shouldn't. He still should have a mohawk because he never won.
Yeah. But isn't that cool? I mean, think about this. Here we are talking about, isn't it amazing there's a magazine and we've got a country like New Zealand, pretty small, and even they had their own magazine. So, back in the day, can you imagine how many windsurf mags were out there that I probably wasn't even aware of? It's amazing. It's pretty cool. So that's New Zealand.
We were talking to Sven from Starboard when we were setting up the magazine, and he was saying that he learned English through the magazines, through reading the magazines, and he learned German as well, just through reading the magazines. So
Oh well, Benny learns English through the magazines as well.
I was about to say though, what I get commented, I spoke to some Polish guy the other day, and he's like, Ben, I get my English from you on YouTube. I was thinking, oh my God, I'm like the worst person to learn your English from. Oh my God.
I've got a comment here from Tim Williams. G'day, Tim. He's asking, do you remember Sailwind Quarterly, Paul? And I certainly do, and I've got one right here. I've actually got two on the shelf. This was an Australian publication, which I'm not sure how long it lasted. I do remember it coming out, like seeing it in the newsagents in the late 80s. But yeah, obviously this came out 4 times a year, and it was, it actually has, it has a lot of nice sort of, imagery.
You used to get
Okay,
posters, didn't you? Have you ever thought about doing a poster?
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Oh, wow.
I've been asking JC for ages. I wanted to do a send it calendar, you know, so like the 12 months are all just massive crashes, but it's never actually happened. I'm still bugging him, but
Holy shit.
we're going to get organized one year. But
we did discuss the poster. We did discuss it. And man, like some of JC's thoughts from the event at the weekend. I think I sent you one or two. Then some beautiful photos. Like I like seeing stuff in print. You know, who knows?
This is awesome. I'm just sorry because it's been a while since I flipped this over. This is a contest. So this magazine. Well, yeah, I don't know. It'd be late 80s, I guess, or maybe mid 80s. But here's just a picture of a comp. I mean, look at the. Can I show that very well? Can you see that? Like, look at the.
There's some audio only.
Oh yeah, sorry, but this is just a comp that they've just taken. Oh.
How do I do? I was trying to get you. Oh shit! I've done it all wrong. Don't matter. Ignore me.
Oh, okay. Anyway, it might be a bit hard to see, but you know, you can see this whole set up on a beach, and Qantas, the main airline of Australia, Sony as a sponsor, and then I'm just reading the top of the article, and it says, "Oh, the world's top sailors came to this blah 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 for a share of the $200,000 prize money." Like this is like the mid 80s. $200,000 in today's money is $1 million.
A chunk, that, isn't it? It's a chunk.
Yeah, it's insane. Anyway, that was that one. Then there was another Australian magazine. We had our own little magazine battles in Australia. There was another one called Sailboard Extra. That was quite a
heat wave.
Oh yeah, maybe we all wanted the heat wave, didn't we? I thought I did.
Yeah,
I just bought a Combat Wave 1990 last week.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh wow! Which one? The one that was had like the camo-y sort of look, was it? Or I'm trying to remember.
The camo-y look, yeah. The one.
Yeah.
As Chris said to me at the time, he cut me right down because he said, "Dan, it's not the ultimate one. The one you want is the one that actually said it was in instant replay." It really hurt me, Tris.
Anders Bringdahl, remember back in those days? It was cool.
But I won that one as well. I won that heat wave. If that's a pretty good one for the collection.
Yeah. Well, the other one, actually, talking about heat wave for the grand finale, Daniel. Here we go. With the
little ribbons off the. That's really aerodynamic, right?
Cool.
Yeah. So this was the other.
We got to do another chat sometime and go through the retro board collection. I mean, Ollie and Tris in particular, like they've got warehouses full of these things. Tris is shipping his from all over Europe to complete his like fanatic collections, etc. In fact, don't you have one this weekend?
My wife in the evenings are kind of looking at like where we're going on holiday, what the girls need, and that sort of stuff. And I'm looking at basically eBay and Facebook Marketplace and buying. Through my midlife, I've got like a collection of about 24 boards now. So we're doing some wacky races this coming Sunday. So we'll have a hat. Bobble came up with this idea. So we have a hat, and you have the Sunset Slalom, Mistral Screamer, and all the rest of it. And you pull out the board, and then you go and do the race, and then you come back in, and you go on the next board for the next race. So.
I tried trying to do that in Portugal, but it's a nightmare because in England you can basically get free boards, like people are giving them away, or you could go to Boardwise. Like I had an idea for YouTube videos where you basically just go to Boardwise, a few of you, and then you have different categories and you have to pick boards from certain time, and you just because there's so many good videos to be had with that sort of retro collection. And 100%, it goes down well. It goes down amazing. And it's interesting to just go back on some of these boards because your memory is sometimes distorted by nostalgia and you get back on them and you're like, I went back on my old custom New Wave. It's like a 245 when I was really young. And I thought, this thing is going to be still pretty sick. It was terrible. I couldn't even back loop the thing. It went straight because I forgot like something that heavy. I thought it wouldn't make a difference. I thought jumping would be fine. I was terrible. It was so weird. Like, yeah. Anyway, it was a long time ago, and it's pretty delaminated as well.
How about this for an ad?
Oh yeah.
Who's that dude?
Looks like
I don't know, but
looks like Christian Bale.
Yeah.
Christ, that is a harness.
Yeah, harness. And the other thing was interesting. I remember when I did a sort of drive with, what do I call it? A video with Jason Polikow. He mentioned how one of his first sponsors was Rip Curl, and they had this thing called the Win Series. And when he was telling me, I was like, oh yeah, I couldn't really envision it. But here we go. Here's an ad for what he was talking about. So Rip Curl was heavily involved in windsurfing back in the day, and they had a whole, I guess, called the Win Series of different. They used to actually sell windsurf equipment, and obviously, funky wetsuits as well. So, it's pretty cool with the magazines as well, because again, you flick through Instagram, and 2 seconds later, you've sort of forgotten what you've watched, but these are all like time capsules. And actually, that's another important thing, I think, for windsurfing too, which we're getting better at. But I think for the health of the sport, it's really important that the timeline of the history is not forgotten. So there is a sense of history and something that's being built upon. As soon as we lose that history, then it all just, people don't really, it's harder to invest, that, you know what I mean? Like into the culture of the thing or something. Like surfing and skateboarding and these sort of things, I think those sports have done quite a good job of keeping the history alive and honoring the people from the past and, this sort of stuff. So anyway, that's why
I think we are good at that. What we need is the new ones coming in.
No, but you know what I mean? Like, I think we're getting better at it now, but I guess it's, through the internet and things of coming back. But, I do feel like sometimes there is a bit of a disconnect with certain things, but I think we're getting better at that now. I think we're getting better at that now.
I was going to say, Paul, it's good that you've uploaded quite a few of the old windsurf videos. As you said, I don't have access to all that video, and actually it's quite cool to actually see all the stuff from back in the day. And with the magazine, as I said, I've kind of learned things from, and hopefully that Tris can get some more old school articles and older guys from back in the day, because it's cool for me to actually learn about that stuff.
Because they're all just inspirations, aren't they? Like, I know what you mean. Some of the old stuff you look at and you go, oh, this is pretty lame. Like, the camera's all fucking all over the place and it's all a bit weird. But then you'll see these moments of gold. Like there's one I uploaded a few months back, was Go with the Windsurfer by I forgot the name of the bloke, but he makes lots of ski videos. But it's a really high quality video with a really unique take on windsurfing. And when you watch it, you can't help but get sort of, I don't know, a bit fired up for windsurfing or something like that. So thanks for.
I'm actually going to put a page on the new Windsurfing TV website, which is basically linking all those old school videos in one place. Because the problem is with YouTube, unless you know what you're looking for, you've got to know what you're looking for to find it. And I was thinking it's kind of cool, because I was trying to look for some the other day, but I couldn't remember the names. But I know if I just browse a collection, I'd be like, this one. So I was thinking maybe I'll just do a page and link to all your videos, because you've pretty much got most of them on there.
Yeah, and there's plenty more from other people. Like if somebody has uploaded a video and it's in good quality, then I respect it that they've got it up there first, and I try not to double up on it. You know what I mean? So there's quite a lot of other people.
That's what I mean. Also, it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter who put it on there, but it's cool to have it in one place.
Yeah, definitely. And the other, we're talking about the history of stuff, but you look at the old school windsurfers page, as you said, on Facebook, and how many what do you call it, followers are on that page? It'd probably be the biggest windsurfing page almost, isn't it?
It's the biggest windsurfing channel, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. So it's obviously, people love it. They love the nostalgia. And the other thing is, the reason why the history is important, actually, sorry, I'm starting to show my age now. I don't know, I'm talking about the good old days or something, but the reason why the history is important is because they did so many things right back in the early days. And then some of the things we lost. And now, like, for example, I do this wave rally event, and I'm not necessarily reinventing the wheel. This stuff was done back in the day. Like, it was done in the 80s and stuff. And then it just somehow we lost it. And because I'm old enough to remember it, I'm bringing it back and people, oh, this is a cool idea. I'm like, yeah, but it was all done. This stuff was done before, it's,
people can say what they want about a beach finish. It's not windsurfing. It's not this, but I tell you, it is a difference maker, because we just spoke to your mate in Oz who did something on the East Coast, didn't they? They did like just a fun wave rally part of the regionals, which is just out and back. And they said that also went super well. Just that concept is super interesting. You don't need to buy any more gear. You're just with your mates. It doesn't have to be super serious, but it's racing is always fun. Like I said, how many people have gone go-karting? They don't race cars, but when you get in a go-kart, you turn into a different animal, and it's a bit like that. As soon as the race is on, no matter what you're in, it's on, fun.
I think to that point, a couple of years ago, me and Tris were on Maui, and I was so inspired by those Neil Pride videos and some of the Gastra videos in the 80s.
Yeah, I love that.
And I looked up Robert Masters and I just hounded him, and he didn't want to meet. And I said, "It's such an inspiration to me. This is why I do what I do."
Yeah.
All these decades later, that was the dream that got me into it. And eventually he capitulated and agreed to meet. And me and Tris drove up Heliakala, up to his ranch. And then he was super nice when we met him. And he went into the container, and we've got the pictures somewhere.
Oh my God.
He had everything. He had all the boards.
The Black Neil Prides.
No, that was Robert Masters who directed all those videos. Yeah. And he got it all out for us, and he made us a cup of tea, and me and Tris and a few friends. And it was a real magical moment, of the history. Yeah. And same with the magazine. We went and we found Mr. Neil Pride for the first issue, and got to interview him. And to your point, Paul, if those stories aren't documented, they'll eventually be lost.
Well, that's right. People. Yeah. And so, hold on. But you didn't. But it still hasn't been documented. Like, we need almost a video of that or something, don't we?
So it's an article that's in the pipeline with Robert Masters.
Oh, here we go. There's a spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Well, and he as Dan says, he wrote the soundtrack to our childhood, didn't he? So
Well, honestly, those Neil Pride videos. I've said this story lots, but it's just so true. Every Christmas, without fail, my one present I look forward to the most was the one shaped like a VHS, and I knew it was the Neil Pride video, and I would be like, straight in, open it, stick it in, press play, and that brings back massive memories, because I'd be unwrapping the presents, and that would be, I can still remember fast forward and move into all of them. I know everything, every line.
Which one was your favorite, Benny?
I honestly liked all of them. Moving Target, I quite like. I mean, fast forward the first one, it can still remember, like Fred Hayward talking about, chicken farms and, just all those lines, Mark Angulo lines, the Pedersen lines, every line I knew off by heart, like not even a question. It was just on repeat. Crazy.
Yeah. No, I'm exactly the same, Daniel. I didn't own Fast Forward, although I watched it, but I had Rigmarole. What was the other one? It was
Moving
Rigmarole.
Target.
Oh yeah, Moving Target, and then he did the Gastra ones like Heart and Soul. Oh, was it?
Angle of Attack was a classic.
Angle of Attack.
Instant replays.
Instant replay. That
was a good one.
That's my favorite.
Yeah. It was cool. I remember. Yeah, but I wore those tapes out. I watched them 1,000 times, and in actual fact, it's the reason why I ended up doing my own thing with making my own videos was all because of Robert Masters. Like is because if you do something as a kid 1,000 times, it becomes a part of you. And when you become an adult, you end up inspiring you probably to move in that sort of direction, isn't it?
The thing is,
it was interesting.
Get a copy to Robert Masters of the magazine. It wasn't easy. Trish had to ship product to the cannery, and then I think Francisco took it out to Robert Masters. So I know that he's got one, and that feels pretty good.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But it is funny, like those videos were product videos, but I never realized that I was getting sold Neil Pride.
That was brochures.
But I just remember watching it and thinking it's a cool video, but it generally was just a product video, wasn't it, at the end of the day?
Well, it brings us full circle back to the start of the conversation that we had about sell the beauty of the sport, sell the love, sell the lifestyle, and the technical specifications will come later, at a different point. As humans, we buy with our hearts before we buy with our heads, and we think that with these rational creatures, but we're totally not. And you got to get those heartstrings going, and they had it right then. And as Lucas said, I think maybe we lost a little bit of it along the way. But
I think we lost a lot of it. Like I said,
I think the thing I like to see as well is you see it on Instagram and maybe in the magazines recently, it's gone down a very kind of like action picture route and techy action picture. And I think, we're selling the lifestyle. So it's really nice to see, the landscapes that we windsurf in, the people, and not just the action. And we try to do a bit of that. Hopefully we can do some more. And I think the more, as you said, you look back at the history and you see other stuff, then hopefully, I think there's also some younger photographers, videographers in windsurfing like coming through, and I think they're probably taking some inspiration from that stuff as well as other sports. And I think we're starting to see like a little bit more of that, lifestyle side of it, which is what we need, I think.
And then one other thing which we did, which I've not seen done before, is you think of like sustainability as potentially boring or do-gooding, and you think of maybe windsurfing, because a lot of it's petrochemical based, as something that's inherently not sustainable. But that's not the case. There's actually some incredible initiatives going on, and we've got two of them in this mag, and one of them is Lewis with the Goya guys, where you bring in your old board from the 90s and they strip it back to the EPS core and then repurpose it as a custom board.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, then there's another one in there. This actually came off a Facebook group where I bought this old Neil Pride RAF wave or whatever it was.
RAF wave, Angulo.
Yeah, so I watch and wait for the ones. And again, the feature in the magazine where he's taken, I think it's like 1,500 sails that would have gone into the scrap heap and repurposed them into bags and things. And these are sustainable stories that you never hear about, and people are afraid to talk about them because anyone, if you ever say you're doing something good and people want to
greenwashing and all that,
greenwashing, purpose washing, all this stuff. But there's some great stuff going on, and I think if you can platform that, maybe other people have the confidence to try things and do things, and it's something we don't talk about enough in this industry. So we've kept a section, in the magazine called The Environmentalist for exactly that.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I think it's funny you should say that, because when you meet a lot of windsurfers, there's so many stories. Like, for example, you might get invited to a barbecue or something, and you turn up at someone's house, and he's made a few chairs out of a board that he's cut in half and stuck it in an L shape, and it's sitting there in the corner, and he's made a lampshade out of a sail, or I don't know, but there's so much stuff out there, and you just think, I'm seeing it, but no one else can see it, and there's a lot out there. There's just a lot of stuff going on that we don't see, or
you go to Cape Town and then you're flying over in the plane, and in the the townships, you see brand new sails used as covers and stuff. Like, obviously, you know, they've been repurposed.
I think
But that's a cool
I'm not
story.
sure it's the same thing, but it's still the same. You know, they are getting repurposed. Wherever they ended up coming from, I don't know, but they definitely got repurposed.
But that's a fantastic story, isn't it? Because think about going back to the story of someone who doesn't know anything about windsurfing. Yeah, but like someone who doesn't know anything about windsurfing, they open it up and there's a story about how a lot of the roofs in Cape Town have windsurf sails on it, and then all of a sudden people go, you know, next thing they fly into Cape Town and they see it, and they have an association. They go, oh, okay, they're windsurfs. You know, like it builds the fabric of the sport. It's awesome. Yeah, it's super cool, man. Super cool.
All right.
You get me.
Yeah.
Oh, I was to say one of the coolest things I saw was when I went to Morocco, and all the kids there have like these old mashed up sails that they've somehow put together. It's so cool.
Well, did you see the video from what's his name? The Fleshet brothers when they went to Morocco, and you said the kids, but they've basically chopped the top. It's amazing. Just chop the top off a wave sail at an angle, and then you've instantly got a kid's sail. And I was looking at them. It's so cool. Like, amazing. Because you've obviously got the mast sleeve still there, the angle's still there, the batten's still there, and they just chop it off at an angle, and that's it. You've got a new sail. I was like, wow, that's so cool. That's so cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Boys, it's windy. I hate to say it, but I'm looking at the trees. It's like I've got 2 days of wind, and you know, just putting it out there. You know, like we haven't got. It's not a good time of year in Portugal for wind. So,
Benny, you don't have to explain.
I'm getting a bit itchy. If you can't see me start getting twitchy, I've got the windy tree outside going. I'm like, ooh.
But Tris, Lucas, Daniel, and Ollie, I just want to say thank you so much for your effort in putting in this. I think it's a really important addition to the windsurf scene, and it probably is a more important addition that you may even realize, I think, you know. So well done for doing it. I love having it at my home as well. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, big up. I think that comes from pretty much all the windsurfing community. Like I said, it'll be really interesting to see. By the sounds of it, it's gone down well. And you never know, like, you know, what I think, what Paul thinks. We're obviously not the whole, you know, population of windsurfing, but I definitely think there's a hardcore that really definitely appreciate it. And hopefully it'll get even more legs going forward. But keep up the good work for sure.
Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, and just finally, for anyone who's just tuned in at the end, if you want to get your own copy of this magazine, you go to Windsurf. Oh, actually, sorry, just go back to the homepage, windsurfer.co, and then you can go into buy now, and there's various packages that you can buy there. If you want to support it fully, you can get the volume 1, 2, and the yearbook. So go to Windsurfer. Oh, sorry, was it Windsurfer? Windsurfer.co. Yeah. Cool.
All right, boys.
Yep. Thanks again.
Hopefully you got some wind. I got some wind.
Have fun.
All right. Cheers,
Thanks,
boys. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Time of the week again. Sit back, relax, we got the brain of band. No need to stress in the house is Van Bellen. The game is windsurfing, you can't yell them or tell them. We get the news, the views, the win biz. The brand's gear tips plus the world's best quiz. The Cobbs PWA. We're professionals without the pay. There's nothing in pole dancing that we won't chat. From tandem boards to a windsurfing cat. It's your one-stop shop for a laugh and listen. Tune in each week or you'll be doing the missing.